Welcome to Sidebar, where you vote on the internet's biggest buttholes. Am I the butthole for blowing up at my stepsister at her comments about my lost weight? My stepsister, 20F, and I, 24M, have never gotten along. Her mom and my dad got married when we were 6 and 10, so we've known each other for a long time. In my stepmom's eyes, she could do no wrong, and anything bad that happened was pinned on me. My dad is a complete pushover, so he would always fall over to whatever my stepmom would say. When I was about 15, I started gaining weight. My GF broke up with me. Woohoo, high school romance. I started failing some of my classes, and I quit baseball. I started to stress eat and balloon up from 125 pounds to 162. I guess at that point she decided she was cooler than I was and started mocking me and making fun of me, calling me names like fattest and chubster. I would constantly go to my stepmom about it, and she would tell me she's just teasing. She's so much younger. Why are you getting upset? I got pissed off to the point where I just started avoiding her and locking myself upstairs in my room with a bag of chips. At 22, I hit 270 pounds and I knew I had gone too far. I was way past my weight limit and bordering on obese. So as a New Year's resolution, I decided to start losing weight. I cut out all junk food and started hitting the gym. Around this time, my stepsister started to overeat too. I don't really know why, but she gained over 30 pounds. She still was constantly belittling me about my weight, which admittedly was way over hers. By the end of this year, I lost 120 pounds. It felt amazing. My stepsister now weighed more than me. Over Christmas dinner, all the aunts and uncles and cousins were complimenting me on my weight loss, telling me how I looked so much better. My stepsister just sat there smoldering. Every time someone said something, she'd add, "He's still pretty big." Well, he didn't get rid of that face roundness. Maybe lose a little more around that gut. It was infuriating and I was getting angrier. Now here's where I might be TA. Finally, at her last little snide, "Look, you know you'll just put it all back on. Why do you even bother?" I flipped out. I yelled, "Why can't you just be happy for me, instead of getting on me for every little thing?" She said back to me, defensive much, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I hurt your 200-pound feelings?" I asked her. I probably should have stopped there, but I kept going, calling me a fat ass. "Look at your plate. You've eaten half the table, fatty." She started crying and left the table. My stepmom screamed at me, saying just because I was insecure I can't take it out on everyone. I said, "Oh, so now you're talking. Not in the past 10 years of constant fatty and lardus and porker, but you're way older." She whined. I left the table too and went home. I woke up today to 1,000 messages from my stepmom, my dad, and my stepsister. They were saying I wasn't welcome to their house until I apologized. I'm not going to. Am I the butthole? Is the poster a butthole or not? Reddit says, "Not the butthole OP. She's basically mentally abused you for years, and the one time you chose to fight back, you got the shit end of the stick yet again from them. At this point in your life, you're old enough to make decisions who is okay in your life and who is not okay in your life. Sometimes it's much easier to not have some family members in your life, even though it seems it would be a difficult thing to do. You don't have to be around them if you don't want to. And no, you don't have to communicate with that evil B stepsister or the stepmother. Time to move forward and make your own life and make your own family of friends and people that respect you." Am I the butthole for giving my ex-wife a large amount of money I won despite the anger of my GF? I recently won a frick you amount of money. I won't say exactly how much, but it's in the millions. It makes me feel funny even typing. It's enough to change the life of myself and my family. My ex-wife is the mother of my 2 kids. She is an amazing woman and good to the bone. We divorced 6 years ago because I had an affair with my current partner. I was in a low place in my life and I fricked up. She was in incredible pain, but like a freaking saint, she allowed me to still see our kids who mean the world to me. Allowed our divorce to be as pain-free as possible despite the fact that I know she was hurting. She still is close with my parents. She is respectful to me, although she refuses to talk to my GF. She was actually the first person I phoned after my mom and pops after I found out I won the lottery. She was pleased for me. Joked that I could take the kids on a world round trip. And that was that. Nothing else. As soon as I won, I knew I wanted to give her a significant amount. I still love her. She's the mother of my babies, and I feel like this is some small tiny way I can show her that I'm not a complete frick up. She deserves to know that I care despite my mistakes. She also works a shitty job in the public library which pays her peanuts. She would actually be able to pursue her hobbies this way. Give our kids a better life between us. I haven't discussed this with my ex yet, but I have with my parents, who strongly agree, and my lawyer, who was very surprised but on board. Long story short, when I told my GF, She was my livid, screaming that I'm disrespecting her, accusing me of still being in love with my ex-wife. I'm not in love with her. We've both grown apart, but of course I still love her for being an excellent co-parenting partner and mother to my kids. My GF is threatening to break up with me, and TBH I'm feeling incredibly relieved over the threats. I don't plan on changing my plans, but am I the butthole? Did OP act like a butthole? Here's what Reddit thinks. Not the butthole. You sound like a stand-up guy. You're making no excuses for your own bad behavior and cheating. You're thinking of your kids over yourself. And you managed to remain on good terms with your ex. I'll be honest, that last bit has probably burned your GF ass before this. I have zero respect for your GF, and she is definitely and definitively TA and a huge one. She has no business dictating to you how and where your money is spent. She has shown you her character. And I'd be super careful of sabotage birth control right now. She sounds like the type hoe. Am I the butthole for keeping my website up after being asked to remove it? Back in November 2018, I was arrested at work in front of my boss and co-workers. It was the most humiliating thing I've ever experienced. I later learned at the police station that I was being charged with multiple felonies. This came as a huge surprise. Luckily, I was able to keep my wits and lawyer up instead of speaking with the detective. For $13,000, which completely wiped my savings, I was able to retain a criminal defense attorney. However, it cost me everything and I was unable to pay my bond. This resulted in me staying in jail for a total of 54 days. At a status hearing, my attorney presented video evidence of me gassing up my car 3 hours away from where the crimes took place, and I ended up having all my charges dismissed. When I finally got out, I learned that I had lost my job, was in the process of being evicted, and my son was in the state's care. His mother is a heroin addict and I haven't spoken to my own parents in nearly 15 years. They wouldn't let him go to my girlfriend because they didn't consider her family. Since my release, I've learned that I can't sue the police and no one gives a crap that I was locked up for 54 days because the detective did poor investigation work. I've gone to the local press about this and was told that what happened to me happens quite a bit. They took down my info but never followed up. So what I did was create a website sharing my story. I also uploaded the police report and some other documents from the discovery. Literally the only reason why I was arrested was because an eyewitness said they saw me. If the detective had done his job, he could have verified that I wasn't even in town on the day the crimes took place. This is what pisses me off the most. My life was ruined because of a lazy employee. I'm writing this now because my website is now ranked #2 on the first page of search results when you type in my town's name. I live in a touristy town and we attract a lot of visitors over the summer. My web traffic has more than quadrupled, and apparently it's got someone high up's attention. I received a cease and desist letter recently, which I showed to my attorney. He said sharing my experience online isn't illegal and that everything I had stated was a fact or my own opinion, protecting me from a defamation lawsuit. Yesterday I received a visit from 2 officers and the detective who had arrested me. He apologized, stating mistakes can happen. They then talked to me about my website and asked if I could remove it. I said I would delete it on the condition that the detective leave his job and never do police work again. Suffice to say that isn't happening. After the visit I received, I'm more off that the only reason the detective apologized to me was to get me to take down my website. I don't plan to, and the only one supporting this is my girlfriend. My friends think I'm being spiteful and have suggested that I just delete it. Am I the butthole for keeping my website up? Is the poster a butthole or not? Reddit says, not the butthole. Our country is so broken. Finally, here's our headline story of the day. Am I the butthole for leaving significant facial scarring uncovered on a plane and being confrontational when a father asked me to cover it because it was scaring his son? I sustained very bad injuries to my face this month. I'm in the stage of healing when the scar tissue has formed, but it's still very tender new skin. I'm going to have very obvious facial scarring for the rest of my life. The injury starts about an inch above my hairline, goes down over my brow so that on part, hair will not grow. It continues down my cheek where it is deepest. I'll always probably have an indentation in the fullest part of my cheek. Then it continues to my jawline. In some ways it's okay. I'm happy it's just cosmetic damage. My friends are super reassuring, telling me how badass and sick it's gonna look. They say I'm still as hot as ever. Now a little more sexy and mysterious lol. But in some ways it really sucks. I know that I'm always gonna be seen first as the girl with the scar, and it feels especially bad when people look at me differently. This week, I had to fly home for a family thing. It was a plan I made long before my injury. I wasn't really looking forward to the pity or people making a big deal of it. I'd rather it not be acknowledged. I'd also met with my dermatologist who said that I was at the stage of scar tissue formation that I no longer should be dressing the wounds. The skin was healing and instead I needed to be applying topical cream and Vaseline to keep the site clean and moist. It also looks a bit ugly. The building scar tissue is very red and tender, and with the Vaseline over it, looks slick and shiny. So I get on this flight. I have the window seat and I put on my headphones and drift off to sleep when the plane is still boarding. I wake up to this kid, maybe 4 years old, sat next to me, throwing a tantrum. I didn't catch the first part of it and I honestly couldn't understand what he was yelling about. His father said to me, "Can you cover that injury?" I said that my dermatologist recommends I don't, so no, I don't think I will. He started snapping at me saying there is no need to be so rude. That injury is graphic and it's scaring my little one. I said this is my face. The only dang face I've got. It sucks being told I'm so ugly I can't show my goddamn face in public. He started to backtrack saying just until it's healed and I said it'll always be with me. Maybe teach some freaking compassion and respect instead of telling a girl half your dang age what you think about her face. That's rude. He actually got up after that and I think went to a stewardess about a seat change because a young couple came to sit next to me on a few minutes instead. I've got to admit I felt so low that I put on my sunglasses and had a quiet cry for a few minutes. Am I the butthole for not covering my healing scar? And for being confrontational about it? Did OP act like a butthole? Here's what Reddit thinks. Dear God, no, you're absolutely not the butthole. People that are that heartless shouldn't be allowed in public. JFC, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It does sound like it looks pretty badass. For the record, rock what you got, girl. Now it's your time to vote on the buttholeness of the headline story. Is the poster a butthole? Let us hear your thoughts. Go to the pinned comment under this video. Please hit the thumbs up on the reply of YDA. You are the butthole if you think the OP could have been nicer. Or press thumbs up on the reply saying NTA. Not the butthole if you are on the same side as OP. Feel free to leave your opinion and reason why you voted for the option you did in the comments section. And join the discussion. For more buttholes, subscribe to Sidebar.